Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the May 2024 edition of the St. Louis Java Users Group. And I've got a window here that just popped up. Okay. Windows will block things here. There we go. So for those who don't know, the St. Louis Java Users Group is an informal group. Our first meeting was in May of 1997, so we've been around for quite a while. Attendance is free. We don't maintain any formal membership list or anything like that. So normally we try to meet on the second Thursday of every month except December when there is no meeting. There's just too many things going on over the holidays for us to be able to organize a meeting in December. So for those of us who can join us in person, you can join us for food and social at 6 p.m. and the meeting starts at 6:30 p.m. It's what we try to aim for as close as we can here. And this meeting that you're watching is originating from the Object Computing Incorporated training room. We're at 12,140 Woodcrest Executive Drive, Suite 310, and that's in St. Louis, Missouri. You want to do it? I'll just tell you. All right, so I'd like to introduce the members of the St. Louis Java Users Group Steering Committee. So from left to right, we have Ted Doyle, Bruce Alspaugh, that's me, Robert Levitt, and Wei Chi Gao, and they're all here tonight. And our newest steering committee member is Zach Klein. He's helping me scroll this window here. Zach, you want to hit the next one here for me? So the St. Louis Java Users Group would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. So from left to right, top to bottom, Object Computing Incorporated is our founding sponsor. They've been with us all the way since 1997, and we're meeting in their training room here tonight. They filled in all the different times whenever we've needed one. JFrog has been sponsoring the Zoom subscription, which makes this remote meeting possible and keeps it free for everyone. Tonight we'll be raffling 2 JetBrains licenses and 2 Manning ebooks, and you must be present to win. So if you're watching the recording, I'm sorry you're too late. You must be present either online or in person to participate in the raffle, which will take place at the end of the meeting. And I'd like to mention 2 other sponsors. I'd like to thank Vaadin, who is sponsoring the pizza tonight. Lawrence, our speaker, made a special trip to Pantera's, and the pizza is excellent. So I'm sorry we haven't figured out a way how to send that out remotely. Next month, we'll have a recruiter finally. Enterprise Mobility is going to be showing up, and they will be sponsoring the food for next month here in June. So if you're looking for a position, you might want to come by the meeting and talk to the recruiters. Okay, next. Manning, one of our sponsors, has a 40% off discount code here for JUG members. So when you check out, you can use that JUG discount code JUG13 during checkout. We have a sister JUG, I call them that, in Kansas City that is organizing the Kansas City Developer Conference, and let's go KCDC. That's coming up here next month, June 26th through the 28th in Kansas City. You can get all the details about that at their website, kcdc.info. Here's some more announcements coming up. Dev2Next 2024 will be happening in Lone Tree, Colorado, September 30th through October 2nd, 2024. We've got a $50 JUG discount code, STL-JUG, available. And you can get all the details about that conference at their website, dev2next.com. And there's also a little QR code that you can scan that will actually take you to the information screen about the JUG discount and all of that. That conference is organized by Venkat Subramaniam. And I don't want to say too much, but he may be showing up here before too long. All right. So as far as upcoming presentations go, next month, we have a talk by Deshaun Carter, who is a Spring developer advocate at Broadcom on scaling Spring Boot to 0 all the way up. And on September 12th, we've got Ivar Grimstad, who is a Jakarta EE developer at Eclipse Foundation. He'll be talking about increased performance and developer productivity with Jakarta EE. Okay, next slide. So if you want to keep up with our presentation schedule, that's an easy thing to do. You just go to the Meetup website. That's meetup.com/gatewayjug. And as presentations are scheduled, we just post them there on the Meetup site. And this presentation, as well as past presentations, have been recorded, and I'm uploading them to my YouTube channel. And so the YouTube channel there is that website URL there. It's just my personal one. I've got playlists for going back for several years, all through the pandemic when we were meeting remotely. So feel free to go ahead and watch that. When I get this recording posted, it will be probably maybe over the weekend or early next week, but I will post a link on the Meetups event page for this event where the link is for the YouTube. Now, if you're interested in giving a presentation or becoming a JUG sponsor, and yes, we need more JUG sponsors, you can email us on the steering committee at that address on your screen. That's javasigsc@ociweb.com. So enough about me. Tonight's presentation is by Lawrence Lockhart, developer advocate at Vaadin, full stack from the Java back. So why don't you take it away here, Lawrence?
Good evening. Well, I'm from the South and we do things very interactive down there, which means when I say something, you say something. So let's try that one more time with energy. Good evening. All right, y'all are awake. So glad to have me here. So glad to see you here. First time to Missouri, first time to St. Louis, first time presenting to a JUG ever. I'm still kind of green at this stuff. So as you can imagine, my nerves are at an all-time low. Yeah, right. So if I say something wrong, if there's a little slip up, just have a little grace with me, right? Still green at this. I haven't even been with the company for a year yet. So very excited to be here. You all are my guinea pigs. So as you see, my name is Lawrence Lockhart. That was a joke. I am Lawrence Lockhart. If you do social media, feel free to follow me or connect with me on socials. I go by Lawrence Decodes on pretty much everything, Twitter, TikTok, just not Mastodon. I cannot do Mastodon. But anyway, I'm a developer advocate at Vaadin, and tonight is just casual. This is not a class. We're gonna have a conversation about this idea that I came up with, full stack from the back, better business application development with Java. And I've already decided, I haven't told my boss yet, he might be watching this. I'm doing the Josh Long. I'm just going to keep this title for like 4 or 5 years and just keep changing the topic, changing the subject. But that encapsulates, in my opinion, what we at Vaadin, where I've been with for 8 months now, are really about. Driving full stack web development from a backend language, specifically Java. Let's jump into it. So here's the key question, right? How do you build a business app for the web, a business application? Or how do you, if you're in charge of making decisions where you work, if you're the architect, if you're the senior engineer, and you're coming up with a new stack, how do you even wrap your mind around what is the approach? Like which direction do you go? What do you base that on? At a very high level, there's probably one of 3 things that you use in that consideration. There's best practices. These are just generally accepted ways of doing things. Most everyone does it that way. We'll do it that way too. We have industry standards and how that has been codified. There's a certifying body that says, hey, this is how you will achieve this technical goal, this technical end. You follow these steps in this way. But then there's convention. I like convention because for lack of a Webster's dictionary definition, convention is, that's just the way we do it around here. I'm not sure if any of you have ever worked in a place where that's just what we do it around here. And that's not always bad, but it gives you an opportunity to challenge because it's not a standard. It's not a best practice. It's just how we do it around here. And that's where Vaadin really, really shines. Quick question, just so I know who I'm talking to. Who has never heard of Vaadin before this meetup? Okay, 50%-ish. If people are all participating, all right, perfect. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about with convention? What does it have to do with Java? Think about that original question. How do you wrap your mind around building a business? If you need to build a brand new business web application today, a data-rich application, how do you start? Well, the basics say HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and more JavaScript, and more JavaScript at infinity. Vaadin says, okay, we understand that, but is there a use case where we can assemble a framework and we can replace all, if not most of that, with just that? Are there use cases where that makes sense? And what we found in 23 years of existence is that there are. All use cases? Absolutely not. Right? If you're a Python shop, we have nothing for you. I'm sorry. Good luck. All right. But if you are a Java developer, a Java team, or a company that has Java as part of your primary stack, we submit to you, Vaadin right now is your go-to source for building business web applications. Which is why I call it that. Now, Vaadin means a lot of things. I found out just last year, Vaadin is actually the name of a female reindeer in Finland. Didn't know that. It's also the name of the company that I work for, Vaadin. This is our logo. But it's also what I want you to understand from tonight and all going forward after tonight. It is the go-to platform for Java-based web developers. Let's jump into it. What are we offering? What am I selling you tonight? Well, our core offerings are all open source and free. You could literally start with this stuff tonight. We offer a robust set of web components. Who's worked with web components in any facet at all, anywhere? 1, 2, 3, 4 are good. I love web components. If you haven't, try them out. It's like HTML elements on steroids. They just do a lot for you out of the box. We have a robust set of Java-based web components, over 50, that become the building blocks for the entire platform. Again, think of Vaadin as a platform. The building blocks are our web components. We have over 50 that do all sorts of things, buttons and text fields. We'll look at some of them later on, layouts, you name it. But in addition to that, remember I mentioned that the platform is open source. So we have something called the Vaadin add-on directory, and last count, there's over 2,000 buttons and widgets and components and integrations that the community has contributed to, and they are giving you a lot of power. Is that a question or are you just stretching? Okay. Is it a WebAssembly runtime? So these web components written in Java, what they do is they are going to update the browser as to what state it should be in. So think about the title of my talk, Fullstack from the back. So I'm not sure how I would compare it to WebAssembly, but these components are the building blocks, and these are the two frameworks which we're going to look at in a minute. And you might even see the answer to that question better than I can tell you. Do I see another hand? You know, when you're old, you can't decide if you want to wear your glasses or not. Like, should I not? Please. Okay. Sure. Yeah. When you see the code, it'll make a lot more sense. Good questions. So that's the first thing. 50 components, 50 plus components that we're offering, plus 2,000 additional widgets from the community. Awesome building blocks for building web. And then we have two frameworks which we're going to look at in depth tonight. First is called Flow. The second is called Hilla. Vaadin Flow, that is this guy. Vaadin Flow is full stack web development with just Java. That's it. You code in Java. You can literally pick this up in a weekend and be up and running. It is fantastic. We consider it the most productive way for a web developer who has Java as their thing to build a business application. It's just Java. We do know that some people need more granular control of the UI, or they're just love React because whatever. Cool, no problem. We have an amazing framework called Hilla, which is the name of a berry also found in Finland. Everything's based in Finland, including the company. And it is an interesting combination of Spring Boot on the back end and a TypeScript React front end that's been bundled in a single project with a ton of back-end wiring that we've done to facilitate things like type-safe communication, form validation, et cetera. We'll look all that in depth in just a minute. And so when I say full stack Java, you might be thinking Jakarta server pages, Java server faces, Java FX, things like that. All great technologies in their own right. What I want you to think about in particular with Flow is number one, open source. Number two, corporately backed. Number three, based on the web components that work well with it because we built them as well. And number four, it's truly a full stack framework. You're going to see that you're going to be building the front and the back. You can have it all together. So how would you get started? If you want to start with this tonight, you want to test it out. See, do I know what I'm talking about? Anyone ever seen this site before? I hope you have. So anyway, we'll go to the Spring Initializer because that's what you should do. So I'm going to stick with Java. You can do Kotlin if you want to. I'm going to stick with Maven because I'm a Maven kind of guy. I left Gradle at FedEx. That's fine. I'm not even going to play with this. The main thing I want you to see is you would simply go and add the dependency of Vaadin. And from right there, you're ready to go. You'll generate the files as normal or download it. You're ready to go with a Vaadin flow application. We also have our own starter page, start.vaadin.com. Very similar, but we have two options, a visual option up front, or excuse me, up top here, and then this one down here that's more of the edited, similar to start.spring.io. If I want to use Flow or Hilla, Java or Kotlin, Maven or Gradle build, which architecture, and I download it and I'm ready to go. So I can start Flow from the Spring site or either one from the Vaadin site. All right, let's get back to our slides. That's how you'll get started. Let's go to some code. I was joking with Zach, right? It's gonna be like a 5-minute talk. I really wasn't a joke. It's gonna be like 5 minutes, we're out of here. Let's go to some code. IntelliJ. All right, quick poll again. I'm gonna see who's awake. Team IntelliJ, show of hands. All right, you're my friends. Team Eclipse. Y'all gotta go. I'm sorry. Who uses Eclipse? No, I'm kidding. I started my Java career with Eclipse. Shout out to Eclipse, STS. You're cool with me. All righty, so I'm just going to start up this project right here. This is taking advantage of our most recent release, which I'm going to talk about at the end. Our current release is 24.4, it is in beta, and it allows you to do Vaadin flow coding, which is all Java, and or Hilla all in one project. It's just, we worked it out. There's a whole lot of abstraction. So let's just kind of look at the structure of this. What I want you to see and pay attention to, we're going to talk about flow for a minute, all right? I want you to pay attention to one thing. The main thing is everything you see is going to be like very intuitive. You're going to feel like you already learned this, which means when you go and pitch this to your boss on Monday, okay, it's not like, oh, how many man hours is this going to take for the team to learn it? Like, will you be up and running by September? No, literally, boss, a couple of weekends, we could be productive. We can be standing up dashboards and internal tools in no time at all because we know this. We're Java devs. That's our jam. Show an example. I was going to, yeah, that's up already. Can we just do this like this? Let's try something. This is risky. Let's try something. Flow, hello again. So I made a class called Flow Hello Again, nothing crazy. I want to extend something called the vertical layout. Vertical layout in Vaadin is a component that arranges the sub-elements vertically. By extension, you're sure there's also a horizontal layout. There's an app layout. It's a form layout. There's a variety of components to take the sub-elements you put in it and arrange them either horizontally and vertically, and they can all be interchanged. So right now, it's extending the vertical layout. In my constructor, or when I was a TA for launch code, I used to call it my Bob the Builder. In my constructor here, I am a launch code graduate and former TA. Let's just do some things. So let's say I want a text field. Text field. That's one of our components. I'm just going to call it name, whatever. Equals new text field, and we'll give it the string of enter your name. This is our hello world. Anything crazy so far? Anything wacky? I'm in a Java class. I haven't pulled up React, Angular, JavaScript. I'm in a Java class. Follow me. We need to import that. Yes, thank you. All right, cool. So let's get a button as well. We have a button component in the Vaadin platform. And that is going to have the submit for a notification. Yeah, sounds good. We'll import that guy. Shouldn't say guy. Import that. Yes, that one. Gotta be careful which one you import. I'm importing the one that says component. And then, so now this button, which is obviously a Java class, I got an instance called lowercase button. In this case, it is a Java class. We have an instance of it. It is a component, which means it has some methods. So let's just let IntelliSense help us out there. I can hit button dot and see the things we can add. Let's add a click listener. It is a button. And this will say, hey, shucks. This fires off. We want to show a notification. We have a notification component as well. Show hello. Oops. I think I called it name. Like I did something wrong there. We'll find out in a minute. I said this was risky. Yes, import class, please. Yes, that one. All right, let's save that. Function command F9. And something, oh, yeah. Thank you. Rerun that. Now, we're not going to see this because I missed one critical element. Typing and talking is a skill in itself. I didn't route it anywhere. Come on, Spring developers. You have to do your whole controller, right? Here's my controller. At route. Where do you want it to go? Give me a route. Anyone? Again, someone said again. That works. It doesn't matter. I'm just keeping people awake, that's all. All right, Control S. What is wrong with your route? Notifications are not allowed here. Yes, they are. They're most certainly allowed here. Is there a question? I can't hear. I'm sorry. No, should not. Absolutely should not. So we run that. We're going to go to our localhost 8080. And we're at / again. Something is off. So let's go to the other one. It's already fixed. Something is off there. We tried it. That's okay. Good try. Let's go to the one that's already fixed. Flow hello, same button, same text field, same click listener we added. That event's fired off. We're going to get a notification. Show hello, name, get value. So let's make sure that works. Enter the name. Press for a greeting, and there's our greeting down there at the bottom left. I don't know if you can see it or not. So that worked. The one that we know that works. So that's Hello World in Vaadin Flow. Main thing I want you to see here, it's just Java. There's literally nothing here that you don't know already. Let's move on. I'm going to use this menu on the left as kind of a guide. We're going to just go at top to bottom. So we just did hello. Let's go to layouts. All I want you to see here, I talked about it earlier, horizontal layout, vertical layout. This is what that looks like if you want to code that. First of all, I think if you want to code this in HTML, CSS, JavaScript right now, what would you do? Assuming no interactivity, which would that do? If you want to do just the display action, just the UI, what would you do? Think about it. Here's how you would do it in Java Vaadin Flow. We have a layout called horizontal layout. It's going to organize the subcomponents in a horizontal fashion, to which I'm adding 2 H3 components. Most of you are familiar, HTML elements. There's a component, a Java Flow component that we have made for you. So we add some H3 components. We're adding some button components to this horizontal layout here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just Java. You know this already. And then to actually display it on this page, the method is add. To add it, you add it. Very intuitive. Let's go on to the next one. Flow grid. Think about how you would make this if you needed to do it in JavaScript, HTML, CSS, React, Angular, your favorite stack of choice. Before I go any further, let me show you some backup service classes and things that I did, because you're going to wonder where this data came from. That's a good question. If you're about to ask that, shout out to you. So we do have some helper classes and things going on here. I do have under my data package, contact entity with some interesting things on it. It's just a basic name. So I wanted to make sure I created like 200 fake people. And so this is the entity with some basic getters and setters to get the name, get the ID, things like that. And I do want you to pay attention to this. We put the validation rules right here on each one of these fields in the Java class. This is important. I'm in the back end, full stack from the back. I'm on the back, and I'm telling the front how I want to restrict the input on these fields. I am not going to type this again. We have it wired for auto form validation, where you do it once on the back and it's done. Full stack from the back. So there's your contact class, nothing crazy there. There's our repo just extending in our CRUD functionality, nothing crazy there. This is just Java, little database initializer just to make the fake people with some random American sounding names. But I just want you to see that so you know there's nothing up my sleeves. Then these service classes, they're interesting. So I have 3 service classes: contact, CRUD, and push. So the contact service class, a few methods we're adding to our credit repository, but what I really want you to pay attention to is this guy. Why do I say guy so much? This annotation right here, browser callable. If you've used Vaadin in the past and you remember something called at endpoint, this is at endpoint, but that's not good nomenclature. We want to call it browser callable because here's what it does. Adding that annotation to this class, when the project builds and the framework scans and sees that annotation, it knows, so to speak, all of these backend methods need to be made available on the front end. And it will generate TypeScript interfaces in a type-safe way to make that call for you. Which means, full stack from the back, in my Java class, I'll have a method called find by ID, or save, or find all. When I want to call that in the front end, all I'm going to do is call literally, what is the service? Contact service dot find by ID, as if I was still in Java. And I'm going to do that on the Flow side or the Hilla side. That's pretty neat. I think that's pretty neat. So contact service, CRUD service, same deal. You see browser callable, anonymous allows, so we don't have to worry about logging in. Loosey-goosey with security, and push service, we'll look at that a little bit later because it's kind of in depth. All right, let's reduce some of these down. We were on the grid. So the grid, you thought about how you would make this if you had to do it on your own? Here's how we do it in Vaadin Flow. Again, we're on Flow. Views, grid. So we're gonna have this Java class called Flow Grid. Again, it's extending vertical layout. Could have made it horizontal or one of the other ones. I'm just gonna make it vertical, keep it simple. My constructor is gonna take in the repo that we looked in just a minute ago, that repo class. And here we go. Little label here with an H2 component. And then this is the magic. So I'm gonna have an instance of our grid component that takes in that contact. We looked at the contact entity, so it knows how that data is organized. Then for that, we're going to actually set the header for each one of those as name, email, and phone. And this is basically, it's not pulling in the data, but it's setting up where the data is going to come from for each column, because each one of these are 1, 2, 3 columns. We can have as many columns as we want to. So we're setting up each column, we're telling each column how to populate each cell, and then we're setting the header for each column. And then this method right here, set items, goes in, use that find all method from our repo class that we pulled in up there, and pulls in all the data. Now, there's some backend devs thinking that's way too expensive. You're going to pull all that data in. Again, I only made 200 fake people, so that's how it looks right here, but there is another method. We can comment that out. I almost said that guy. Uncomment this one, and we have a slightly different way of looking at it. So now, instead of setting items and just finding all at once, which at 200 doesn't matter, what if it was 2 million? We can have a query, and we can say, hey, with this query object, we're going to find all, but we're going to use this cool class here that we have called Vaadin Spring Data Helpers, which is going to change that query object to a Spring page object, which means we can now lazy load it and get a page at a time. We're not just grabbing all the data at once. Now I did that. Unfortunately, it might have I should make more fake people. You won't tell the difference here at all, but if we scroll this, yeah, it will literally scroll a page at a time instead of trying to get all the data at once. And we have lots of little neat helper classes that like that to make development faster and easier for you. So that was grid. Let's go on to form. Let's see, can I? Yeah. So I didn't put what I wanted to put on this form. So the only thing I want you to see here on the form is, we're gonna look through this one really fast, is again, this is just Java. This is one Java class, is this form right here. There is no hidden HTML that I'm not showing you. This form right here with text fields that say name, last name, username, password, etc. We even have the ability to make it responsive. We have classes for that. This one Java class here gives me this form. Let's keep moving. Push, asynchronous communication. So in this case, we have something really fancy. We're just showing words one at a time. No big deal. But what I want you to notice is flow push. How we do it. So in Vaadin Flow, all of the Vaadin platform supports reactive programming and reactive data types. So in this case, we're going to take advantage of the flux data type and call that from array on just this little string here. All right. split it by the spaces. And then, so that's going to emit something. So we're going to delay how it comes out, because I want it to like show up like a billboard or something. So we're delaying it by a half a second, subscribing to that stream, and then just that stream, excuse me, and then just adding word by word. We're calling each one of those emitted elements a word, and adding that to that, and adding that to the UI right here, because this gets the current state of our UI. Think of that like your root component in your browser. We call it UI like that. Let's push. Spreadsheet is broken. That's why it should not be here. But I do want to say this is coming from, that's funny. This is coming from one of our enterprise offerings, which means you couldn't use this one, but there is a free one in the add-on as well. But basically what our spreadsheet component does, it allows you to upload an Excel spreadsheet to a live app working in a browser and actually manipulate the data right there in the browser, which I think is pretty cool. If you go to the Vaadin, say again?
Databases as well?
Databases as well. So this component cannot. This is a spreadsheet component specifically, but there is another one that can do what you're asking for. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I'm going to quote Josh on something. No, you're good. But this one only does spreadsheets, hence the name. So this is the paid version, but there is a free version as well. And I was going to say, if you go to the Vaadin YouTube page, I did a short where you can see me actually uploading the spreadsheet, and we had some programming in here to kind of iterate through all the cells and just add the numbers up. But that's a pretty neat component as well. So that is Vaadin Flow in a nutshell. Full stack development with Java. Yes.
Like I would change the Java.
Mhm.
Like, am I going to the file page or am I just waiting? Is it immediate?
In terms of like when you're developing it? Yes.
Size?
Not really. Now there, so I want to answer that. Yes, he's asking about performance. And we start to deal with applications of considerable size, and you're making changes in your code, how long it takes to see in the browser. I haven't heard complaints in that regard, but we do know, since we're pushing everything from the server, there is an increased load from the server, right? It's not just happening front end anymore. So this isn't a static website. This isn't a word that doesn't come to mind, but everything is coming off the server. So those considerations are important.
Providing freshly generated JavaScript from what you wrote in Java.
From what you wrote in Java.
So then
Mhm.
that brings my next question up. Does that lead to difficult debugging problems?
Describe.
It's something on the screen that I don't expect. Where do I look?
Gotcha.
Normally I would need to look at the source on the page of the browser, like a 12 or something. That's not really gonna help me because that whole thing was gonna have to generate from the back end.
It was. Okay. I'm going to take that question back to home. All right. Don't have that one immediately available. That's good, though. That's valid. Thank you. I see another hand. I see two hands.
This is a follow-on to this question.
Okay, sure. Conversation.
There are Vaadin developers, which from what I'm seeing here, apparently give you some insight into the actual components from your browser. So.
Yeah, it'd be really nice to be able to point at a component and say, where's the Java? for that?
Right, yeah, that's what I know.
That's really what I want to know.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you. And I see a hand in the back. Barely can see you.
My answer to that is one place to look. Unlike a standard JavaScript, a single page application where a lot of like streaming all over the place, so kind of down it's a good design, nowhere first of all. Here it's going to be in one place all the time, always looking in JavaScript on the server.
That's true. That is true. We've condensed all that down. So very good point. Thank you for that. All right. All minds and hearts clear? That's a Southern church phrase. Yes.
So web application, how are you handling things like the back button? And how are you handling, say, user authentication where people have to log into your application?
Mhm.
And depending on what permissions they have, they'll see different parts of your application. You will have those different types of data.
Gotcha. No, I haven't built anything with it. I know we have like authentication solutions for sure. And everything we have integrates completely with Spring Security. In fact, the architecture for this is Spring, right? The Spring architecture on this combination app that I'm showing you here. Not sure how to best answer that, but we do have tons of apps that are working with authentication and things of that nature. Yeah.
And are the URLs that this thing is generating, are those human readable things I can look to and I can come back and I'll see the same state later when I relaunch the browser, and it'll pick up where I left off with the UI as I left it. What's it gonna do?
Yeah, so they are. Did I see him? Did I hear somebody? Thought I heard someone, no. So in a similar manner to what you would do with a Spring controller, so we can obviously designate which view shows up to which page in that way. And then in the most recent version, again, the one that just came out 24.4, it actually will take the class name and generate the URL from that automatically, like without even adding it. And it could add it to the menu as well, which is pretty neat. So yes, on human readable. Yes.
All this Spring, is there any support for Micronaut?
Micronaut. That I've not heard. Quarkus, which is a totally different thing. Yes. Kotlin, yes. I haven't heard much talk about Micronaut. Is that your jam? Just asking random questions to trip up the speaker. All right, we're going on to the next part. Hey, can you help this thing that I've never worked with before? All right, we're going to go on to Hilla, folks. Yes. No, not special at all. Yes, but on the spreadsheet component that I use, I was using a enterprise version, so money, but there is a free version on in the add-on directory that works in the exact same way, but it was developed by the community, not developed by the company.
Okay, so the way that Vaadin makes money off
Yes, and I would say the majority of the revenue stream is tied more to B2B. Thinking in terms of number of seats that you use and enterprise offerings, we have a whole slate of services I'm not even going to get into tonight because that's just not my jam. Kubernetes kits, acceleration kits, upgrade kits. Like we'll just come into a company who's still on swing and just take everything you got and bring you modern. Like that's B2B is our revenue stream. The vast majority of our core offerings are open source and free. Absolutely.
You
Hey.
mentioned you support as well. I have this easily done this for your example. Instead of Java,
Yes.
essentially the same way. Except
Running on the JVM. JVM is our friend. And Java is our friend. So if you, Matti Tavonen, he did a recent video showing, I think he was using Eclipse Store for his data store, Vaadin Flow for the obviously full stack front and back end. It basically was like just a Java stack all the way through. And so because it's on the JVM, but it could have been Kotlin as well. Yep. Great questions. Great questions. Alrighty, so slideshow. We've done that already. Talk for just a minute or two about Hilla while I get a little bit of water. So I think you all got Flow. It's full stack Java. Hilla is just think React on the front, Spring Boot in the back, but it's a single project. You generate that from the start.vaadin.com, or you can use it, generate it from the command line. You get those two in a single project, and you get the framework, which is tying them together. Because the first question is, well, why can't I just do it on my own? My company already does React and Spring. Why do we need you? We have a lot of things that make those two work together and kind of take some of the boilerplate off your hands so you can focus more on business logic. So full stack web app for Java devs. Again, this is for Java developers. TypeScript front end, Spring Boot back end, single project. Some of the features, the same UI components that we talked about with Vaadin Flow, we'll use them here. Type safe communication, shared form validation logic, file-based routing now, with 24.4. And again, it is open source and community driven. Let's get to the code. So now I'm going from down here up to the views. Views folder, hold on a second. Get out of that, there we go. You need this later, right? Let's see. So, there. All right, so Hello World. So we looked at Hello World with Flow. Let's look at Hello World with Hilla. I'm not going to try to do this one from scratch. Just make sure it works. Donald Duck, press for a greeting. All right, nice. Hi, Donald Duck. How does that look? So this is just TypeScript. Where are my TypeScript and React people? Show of hands. Not many. Vaadin Flow. Everything else I'm going to say, forget about it. Don't even worry. It's not. But there's some teams that's like, I just can't imagine Java on the front. I just won't do it. That's okay. It's okay. We have something for you, and it's called Hilla. So on the front end, excuse me, doing it with Hilla, which is React front, Spring Boot back. This is how it would look for that Hello World. Main thing I want you to pay attention to right here, this text field. You remember that text field component from Flow in Java? We're going to use the same guy over here. Why do I say guy so much? We're going to use the same one over here. Also want you to pay attention to, that's what all attention to, the button. So those two components, we're using the exact same two components on the Hilla side. Let's move down. Grid. You remember the grid from the Flow side? Here's how we do it on the Hilla side. This is now React. Here's how we do it in our framework, grid. Here's what I want you to pay attention to. Number one, there's my grid component. You remember that. We're going to use the same grid component. It is getting the value from context. However, what is context? We need to talk about that for a minute. Context, we're going to use this use signal hook. Ouch. And that use signal hook is going to store us an array of contact objects. We looked at the contact entity earlier. It starts with an initial value of an empty array. We're going to use that in combination with a use effect hook. Now, that's just a traditional regular React hook, use effect. What we're going to say is, hey, remember that contact service we looked at earlier? That was a Java class and the find all method, there it is. How am I doing that? How am I calling that Java class with the find all method in my TypeScript file? That does say TSX. I'm not sure if you can see it. It does say .tsx. I'm able to do that because of this generated folder, which you see is grayed out, which means don't touch it, because we know everything in there is perfect. But when I built this app and the framework saw those annotations browser callable, it generated all of this right here, which includes, where's contact service? Contact service.ts that takes care of all that type safe communication to the backend for me. So in order to call the Java class and method contact service.findAll from the front, I just call the same one. I don't need a REST API, GraphQL, none of that. Just call it the same way I wrote it. I'm running my front from the back. Java's in control. You should like how that sounds. So anyway, the use effect hook here, we're going to call that find all method. And then as that data is being populated, we're going to update the value of contacts. We're calling it C. We're updating the value of contacts. We're populating that array as this method is being called. We're populating that array of contact objects as this is being called. And then that's going to go here for the items in the grid. And so this is this. But wait, there's more. Because a few of our industrious engineers said, industrious engineers said, can we make it a little simpler? And they worked on it. And they thought about which parts should you never have to code because it's boring and it's boilerplate. And so they made what's called the auto grid, which means I can recompile this. Let me see. Hold on a second. I want to see it actually. That didn't do. Hold on. Stop and rerun. I don't want to cheat you. I'm going to stop and rerun it. I want to see that sucker flash. There we go. Hello world. All right, now where's the grid? Boom. And it's even enhanced. Sortable, filterable grid on the front end, achieved with essentially one line of code. This is a Hilla component called AutoGrid. It takes in the CRUD service. We looked at service earlier. It knows the model. That's the contact model from our fake people. And it knows how to populate a grid. Super simple. This is not fancy. This is not going to be like breaking designers, winning designers awards. But as a CTO who came by our booth at DevNexus a few weeks ago said, sometimes I just want to see the data. I don't want you to, reinvent the wheel and this is going to take 6 months. I have a bunch of data coming in. I just need to see it and see it quickly. That's what this is made for. I see a hand. Flow does not have auto grid. Flow has grid, but Hilla has auto grid. Good question. Flow needs auto grid. So that is right there is that one line of code. Let's keep moving. Yes. Uh-huh.
So use signal and use effect are key words for Hilla then?
Use signal is use effect, I believe, is a standard React hook. Where are my React people? Yeah, so we're using them together. We're using the Hilla stuff and the React stuff together. This, in order to populate the front end, this is doing the work, just basically making that call to the back end and then pulling in that data. So we're using them together in conjunction. And you saw that, and that's a great question. I like that you asked that because we saw that a very similar, anyway, we will see a very similar syntax in another class, another file rather. So that was the grid. Let's go on to form. Here's what I want you to know about the form. Where's form? Hilla form. Let's look at this together. So this code right here is that form. A couple of interesting things happening. We're using the use form hook. That's a Hilla original. That is going to essentially manage everything about our form for us. Okay, it is taking that contact model, and what it's doing is returning a field, which is going to be the method to bind the data, of the model itself, which is the contact model, read if we need to, and the submit button as well. It's returning all of those, which means down here, look at these three text fields, 1, 2, 3, name, email, phone. That's these three right here, name, email, phone. Each one of these, whatever I input, that method field is going to bind what I input to the name in the model itself. Which means name, as you remember, had some special restrictions on it. And so there we go. So name must be at least 2 characters. I did not code that in my React. That's what I want you to see. This, I know it's tiny, I'm sorry. I didn't code that in React. That knows that, it knows that from when I put it in the back end one time and I'm done. Auto form validation. And let's just not cheat. Let's just make sure me dot. No, that won't work. Me at dot. No, me at Yahoo. Yeah, cool. So that one works, and phone, Donald Duck, no. 901 333 3333. Oh, it wants dashes. Darn you, regex. Regex or regex? Regex, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being normal. All right, so it works. What did we learn here? We get form validation with this Hilla thing without even having to code or do anything on the front end. You tell it what to do on the back, we will make sure it's done on the front on your behalf. On to the next one. We're almost done, for real. That was form. Here's CRUD. CRUD is pretty neat. CRUD looks a lot like grid, but it's a CRUD. And we're going to go right to the one-liner. This auto CRUD component, same way the grid did, taking in that service and that contact model, populates all this. It's sortable, it's filterable. Am I in here? I guess they fired me. That was a joke. All right, Dave is in here. There we go. So it's sortable, it's filterable. We can do all kind of fun stuff, but we can also add to it. Give me a name. Anybody, real quick. Give me a name, please. David. Bowie. Shout out to David. His email, of course, is db@yahoo, because he's a Hotmail kind of guy. And his phone number is whatever. Submit. Filter, name, Bowie. I'm just storing this in my local storage, but it works. All of this that you see right here is that one line of code with the assistance of the Java. So the real work is on the Java, the CRUD service and the contact model, Java, the stuff that we like. So you do your work there, and we make sure from the framework perspective, the front end hassles are just taken away. There's no other code. Let me undo this. Taking in the CRUD service there, but you see that as a generated file, as well as the auto CRUD component, importing React, and the contact model, also a generated file. Last one, push. This one always gives me trouble, so hopefully this is going to go well. Fullstack from the back, the same little string. Let's go to it. Hilla push. What I want you to notice from here, number one, we are calling within the use effect, which is a React hook. We're calling that push service class, Java class. We're calling the stream message method, which I'll show it to you just in case you forgot, push service. There it is right there, stream method, stream message. That's a Java method. I'm calling it exactly the way I wrote it, exactly the way that I typed it there in this TypeScript class. And in this case, we are going to say, yeah, there's our use signal hook again, starting with the empty value. And we're basically populating that value word by word. That's in a nutshell what's going on here. Because it's returning a message. This use signal hook is returning this message. And you see we get the value, because that's an object. So we get the value from that object and we update each word piece by piece. And it's still going to follow the same cadence. So this said delay it by half a second, 500 milliseconds. So if I refresh this, it should do that. Now that's not impressive. You're like, what's this dorky stuff? This could be stop. This could be sports scores. This could be anything that's streaming in, like a flux of data. It will handle that for you. So that's all the code we're going to show. We can go back to our Tom Hanks. What's new? I mentioned we have a brand new version that just came out, Vaadin 24.4. It is in beta. Can't wait till it gets out of beta because there's been kicking and screaming and all sorts of strange stuff going on to get here, but it's really exciting. There's documentation about it. You're welcome to try it out. It does use signals for state management now. Anybody familiar with signals? We have signals now. Hilla and Flow together. In the odd event, you start and you have a Flow app and you're going good and you're loving life, but then you suddenly have a PM come to your desk in the middle of the day and say, I need a specifically React front end for this project. And you're like, you can just put them together. It'll just work. From 24.4 forward, both of these two frameworks I described to you, they'll actually work together. You can add Flow in Hilla or Hilla in Flow, either way. Automatic menu generation. So the menu that you saw here, I actually coded it here. All right, with all the nav links. Those are components as well. With Hilla 24.4, you get automatic menu generation if you want it. And a very exciting thing called Copilot that is a combination of an AI-assisted, it's basically an AI-assisted visual tool for coding in our framework. I haven't even touched it yet. It's that hot off the press, but I know that's what it is. So I am a developer advocate for Vaadin. You would expect me to be just like the bee's knees about all this stuff and be happy about it. But what do regular people think? Like, does anybody else use this in the entire world or even think that we're worth considering? Here's a person. I snag all this off Twitter because I live on Twitter. Message, while Kowex said I regularly complain about the lack of full stack frameworks for Java people. Where's the full stack frameworks? There's great backends, but front end always feels like a second-class citizen. This is not true anymore. Check out Hilla framework. Anybody know Message? No? All right. How about Karat? Anyone know Karat? You better. No, I'm just kidding. He said, one of my most favorite companies that plays an important role in Java technology adoption. Give them a follow. The Vaadin team is top shelf. That was a couple of months ago. And then this guy, Dan Vega, Mr. Spring. So he is using a JSON backend of all of his talks. He said, this took me 5 minutes to put together, loading all of my blog posts, loading all my blog posts from JSON and displaying them in a grid with Vaadin Flow. And he said it took him 5 minutes because sometimes you just need the data. I think Deshaun's coming next month. And fun fact, he and I are actually working on a CFP. No, he submitted the CFP for Spring 1 to see if we can do something where he's going to build with Spring Boot on his side. I'm going to build with Flow on my side. And we'll meet in the middle, kind of like dueling pianos, but laptops. So hopefully that goes through for Spring 1. But anyway, Deshaun had this to say. I've been using Vaadin 24 pre-release lately. That was not lately. That was a year ago. Anyway, he said he's a fan. He loves the initializer, and he already has his own flow for how he likes to use our framework. Simon Martinelli, excuse me, he's a Vaadin champion and a Java champion. He said, hey, did you know that Photoshop Online is actually built with web components and Lit? He's a big Lit fan. Any Lit fans? Never used Lit. No? He said he believes that web components are the future. If you want to use them as well, you can use them with Java and Vaadin or with React and Hilla. So all the code, usually this is like the social media stuff. I'm not going to do that. This is the code. So if you want to scan and check out the code, that is the barcode to all of the code that we looked at tonight. Thank you. And I'll go back to that one. I will say, as Bruce comes up, there was a young man who visited our booth at Connect Tech. So we went to Connect Tech in like October. Gave him basically the spiel that I just gave you, like the 5-minute version. No, he kept saying, huh, think I can use that. I think I can use that. He came back to DevNexus, which I guess was last month, said between October and then, he stood up a complete site or application for a client, a paid client. They loved it. They don't care what it's made in. They just want it to work. All of the descriptions, all the business requirements that they had, he was able to satisfy that, and he did it 100% in Vaadin flow. And I asked him, what was the good part about it? He said, it's just easy. Like, it's just too easy. Like, things that I've been struggling with on the front end, things I haven't even wanted to try because I'm a Java guy, I can just do it like that. Like, thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, very good. Is there, anyone have any questions here for our speaker tonight? I see some hands up. Yeah, go ahead.
But this one or that one? Go.
Server generating or transpiling JavaScript. Why not be like Blazor?
Yeah, I mean, that's just different technology, different approach. So our approach is to let Java be the driver for Java developers who want to build for the front end. That's what we're going for. It's similar to, that question reminds me of a person who asked, would this be good for static site generation and making like these beautiful websites. So we're not into making websites. We're into making business web apps that have Java at the base, Java driving everything. That's the whole point. If you don't want or don't need Java as the driver of what you're wanting to do, then you're not going to want these frameworks. It's just a different use case.
I'm speaking to serverless database.
Okay.
You have Java assembly,
Mhm.
server, and also set JavaScript. At some point, work with JavaScript.
Sure. Be a good issue to raise. Like, why did the engineers not do it that way? I don't know. That'd be a good issue to raise. Maybe. Mm. Yeah. Sure. Good description.
Don't say that. Yeah.
Straightforward HTML and CSS for the most part, with some JavaScript within the code. That amount of testing that has happened with my code to run from the browser plus all. But I think the code can come right away. It's certainly just like microservices, not only one architecture for all applications now figure out. Vaadin is not the only rendering architecture for web apps to figure out what is the actual rendering.
The pendulum is definitely swinging back.
Yeah. HMX is a good example. Mm.
Is there any problems with cat? The browser? It's got like some cat.
Not that I've heard of in issues or in the forum, which that's the kind of thing that they love talking about in the forum. So we used to have a Discord, but interestingly, Discords are not SEO friendly. And so we made it a forum. So it's kind of like a Stack Overflow, which means you can Google certain issues and certain things, and you'll be able to find things that have been talked about in the forum here. Yeah. Back to the blue jacket.
They wanted to touch briefly sort of on session management.
Hmm.
I think session management was sort of the crux of the question being asked about. how do you get back to where you were and back button and sort of things like that, right?
Right.
Session management, to answer that, speaking with that, but also related to that was JSF maps. It had like a 6 or 8 or 10 stage pipeline that when you request that they come back to essentially rehydrate its component March each time. We had that develop, you could understand that pipeline and everything that it did, we got to develop and
Hmm.
it is there any kind of consideration like that here, I'm still doing that.
Ask the second one again. The first one I have nothing for, but ask the second one again.
So
Hopefully something he can repeat for the people who.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to gather, because that's the other half of the job. Okay. Mhm.
now.
State question. Gotcha.
Where we were used to get books and articles.
Exactly.
How maybe Vaadin is different with respect to that?
I cannot, but what I'm going to do, because I'm going to give Bruce all these slides as well as the code from tonight. And we'll have conversations for the rest of the week. And so Monday I'll have answers for all those and make them available to everybody. So it's a lot about the state, a lot about WebAssembly. I got it. Good stuff.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Is there anybody in the chat who had any questions, sir? We're looking.
I haven't
at
looked at the chat at all. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
All right. Well, I think at this point, we can probably end the recording and we'll move off to the raffle.
While I'm still up here, can I do my standard thing and get the picture? I have to get the picture, or I wasn't here. Anyone want to escape? I know some people are picture averse. If you want to escape, now's your chance. If not, pretend to be happy on 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, I'll get this side too. 1, 2, 3. Awesome, thank you. He was here.